Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everybody Hare Krishna. Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's all say Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki. Now we can get rid of this. And I go to the, yeah, there we go.
Hare Krishna, everybody. So, thank you very much for coming tonight. We're very honored and happy to welcome and have the association of His Grace Sureshwar Prabhu. Sureshwar Prabhu is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada that is being for many years dedicated to teaching the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, teaching especially, I remember Sureshwar Prabhu because of his wonderful explanations on the Bhagavad Gita. And we used to see him every year in Gitanagari. He lived for many years in Gitanagari. And now he's settled in Tucson, Arizona, and he travels teaching this for the last 6 years, I believe, Sureshwar Prabhu, teaching this very important topic for our community of devotees to understand the very special position of Srila Prabhupada as our founder Acharya. So let us welcome Sureshwar Prabhu with a loud Hari Bol! Thank you very much. Sureshwar Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
I hope I don't disappoint you too much. Thank you, Subal Prabhu. So people ask me, why are you doing this? And I'll tell you how the whole seminar came to be. I was teaching in Mayapur, at the Mayapur Institute. Who's been to Mayapur? Okay, most of you, good. So they have this adult education, Mayapur Institute. So I was teaching Bhakti Vaibhav, which is the first 6 cantos of the Bhagavatam. And I started to notice how disconnected, how distant the younger devotees were from Srila Prabhupada, just because they'd never seen him physically. So I thought, wow, this means every generation's going to get further and further and further away from Prabhupada. Pretty soon, no more Hare Krishna movement, right? Prabhupada's the foundation. He's the founder Acharya. So when the foundation is neglected, guess what happens? Everything collapses. And that actually did happen in the 1980s. Not everything collapsed. By Prabhupada's grace, everything didn't collapse, but it was a dark night of ISKCON soul. So when I noticed that, when my students were looking at me like, oh, you're so lucky you saw Srila Prabhupada. We're so unlucky we never saw him. No matter how much I talked about Vani and Vapu, raise your hand. What's Vani? No, Vani is the... We're counting on you, come on. Vani is the vibration, the eternal instruction, the forever Prabhupada. And Vapu is the physical presence, which comes and goes, right? But the Vani is an eternal record of his teachings. So no matter how much I talked about the eternal Prabhupada is the Vani, which we have so much more access to today than we did in the 1960s and 70s when he was walking among us. I couldn't push a button then on a smartphone and access him anywhere in so many different contexts and formats, but we can do that now. If you want to know what Prabhupada was doing on, what's today? Today's the 27th. In, let's say, I just read it this morning actually. Anyway, on June 27th in Melbourne, Australia, say, you could access that. So they didn't believe me. I could see it in their eyes. They were shaking their head, yes, we understand. They didn't understand. So I made up my mind, I got to do something about this. I got to make a seminar or something. And then as soon as I made up my mind that I had to do this, guess who I bumped into? A whole committee, the GBC committee called Srila Prabhupada's Position. And I said, boy, I never heard of you folks. What are you doing? Well, we're doing this and we're doing that. Well, I want to do a seminar. Great, do it. So I started the basic research in 2011. I started traveling in 2012 and still going because Prabhupada keeps showing me how to do it better. So what you're about to see and hear is the latest edition of the seminar. Oh, what happened? Boop. Let's see here. 2 balls here, right? Oh, you're there. Okay. So that, yeah, see, something always happens. No matter how well the rehearsal goes, something always happens. Oops. I don't want that to go away. Alright. Duplicate. Okay. So let's duplicate this on the screen. Get rid of this. How do I get that to it? Alright, yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm no tech, so I need lots of help. Okay, so there's the Prabhu. Can you read that at the top? And the subtitle. Yeah, we all have the same foundational relationship. No matter who our Shiksha and Diksha gurus are, we're all connected with Srila Prabhupada. And you're going to hear this again and again, how Prabhupada, he provides the unity amidst our vast diversity. Right? I mean, ISKCON is all over the world, cutting across all kinds of racial, ethnic, linguistic, political, national boundaries. So we're very different karmically, but we all have the same connection to Prabhupada. So as much as we're all connected to Prabhupada's life, his teachings, his mood, his mission, we're all connected. And as soon as we drift away from that, then all we see is difference. We don't see the oneness. It's oneness and difference. Okay, so let's go to an overview of the seminar. Raise your hand if you can tell us how that picture came to be taken. See, I'm testing your knowledge of Prabhupada Leela now. How many people have read the Leelamrita? How about the complete Leelamrita? As the hands go down. Right? Okay, great. It's okay to read the condensed little Prabhupada book, but read the full nectar, the full measure of Prabhupada's mercy. It's great. Okay, and that's just the beginning. Then you get all these books like Rhino and 5 years, 11 months, and in Germany and Australia. And we're awash with Prabhupada Leela. Okay, so it was 1967 in San Francisco. Prabhupada had just done the unthinkable. He left New York City in that little ashram at 26 2nd Avenue, and he flew to San Francisco, his first airplane flight. And the New York devotees were completely bereft. Oh, Swamiji. Yeah, they were still calling him Swamiji. What do we do? Well, Prabhupada wrote them back, just do what I said to do. Follow my instructions. Have kirtan, take prasad, go out and Harinam, and keep my picture on my seat. But we don't have a picture. Oh, okay. So Prabhupada enlisted the help of Roger Siegel, who became Guru Das, the husband of Jamuna. And Roger was pretty handy with a camera. So Roger fixed up some little makeshift shots, and some of them became iconic, famous pictures. And this is one of them. This is the one that spoke to me. This is the one that convinced me, wow, this person is a bona fide spiritual master. Okay, so let's look at the first 3 lessons of the seminar. It's called Sambandha. How about Sarva? Can you read that? And tonight we're going to do this one, the first one. Whoop, what did I do? I have to see, I think I hit my, oh is that your glitch or my glitch? So do it again. All right. Okay, go back into current slide. There you go. Okay. I think I just hit the pointer wrong, you know. I got one. This is a remote. But it's very remote. It's too remote. Okay, here it is. That's fine, Prabhu. You're trying to... Okay, thank you. Okay, so Sarva read the spiritual masters, and that's tonight's lesson. We'll get a little guided tour of Guru Tattva, just briefly, by Srila Prabhupada. Lesson 2. Right, a special kind of spiritual master. That's tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I believe, correct? Yes. And then tomorrow afternoon. And then we're going to take a look at how our founder Acharya fulfilled that role like no one ever has. Unbelievable. Okay. So that gives you an idea. Oh, that's just Sambandha. And then starting Sunday morning, we're going to have 11 o'clock again. Then we'll start the Abhideya section, which means... Okay. once we really deepen our understanding of Prabhupada and our relationship with him, then we're qualified to deepen our commitment to his mission. That's abhideya. Knowledge, process, and then once we commit more to the mission, then we're qualified for very interesting lesson. Make-believe Prabhupads. We're going to take a look at some ghosts and exorcise them to whet your appetite. And then finally, we all have an individual, core, primary, foundational relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And blessed are all those spiritual masters, Shiksha and Diksha, who deepen, enrich, and enhance that relationship. They are bona fide gurus. Okay, are there any questions about the scope and sequence of where we're going? It's going to happen this weekend, and we're going to duplicate the timings next weekend. Same, Friday night, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And by the way, while I present the slides, I ask you the questions, and then I sit down after about an hour, and you ask me questions. So if you do, I see some people have notes. I really took all the notes. I have a file that's called Student Notes, and at the end of the whole thing, at the end of next weekend, I can send you the notes for everything. But what you might want to make note of is questions. If I say something that sounds strange, or contradictory, or just plain wrong, make a note of that and ask me for clarification, balance, whatever, so we can straighten it out. Good. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's see. How about Mataji? Can you read that? And can you read the little caption below the picture? Right. There are many biographies of Lord Chaitanya, but the most definitive was by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And in the very first chapter of the CC, does anybody know what the first chapter of CC is called? I told Maharaj he couldn't answer it. Yeah. Remember our deal. I said, don't you answer the questions. Unless I request you to. Thank you. But then at the end, then he fires on me, then he can ask all the questions. Okay, yeah, the very first chapter of the whole CC is a guided tour of Guru Tattva, especially texts 30 through 60, say, roughly. So you get to know all about the Guru-disciple culture right in the first chapter of CC. Okay, now, not only in the first chapter, but the first 2 words in Bengali that Krishnadas wrote was Bande Gurun. Gurun is plural spiritual matter. It's plural. So let's see. Mataji, keep reading here. Right. Plural. Prabhupada comments in the introduction running up to the first verse. Kaviraj Goswami uses the plural here to indicate the disciplic succession. He offers obeisances not to his spiritual master alone. And who was the Diksha Guru? We could forgive Krishnadas Kaviraj for just mentioning his own personal Diksha Guru because he happens to be, do you know? And don't say Rupa and Raghunath. That was his Shiksha Gurus, prominent Shiksha Gurus. Who was his Diksha Guru? You know? Lord Nityananda. He's a category of Godhead, Vishnu Tattva. But he didn't just mention Lord Nityananda, even though he was his Diksha Guru. He offers obeisances not to his spiritual master alone, but to the whole parampara, the chain of disciplic succession beginning with Lord Krishna himself. So one theme of this seminar series is that it takes a sampradaya to raise a sadhaka, Who am I paraphrasing there? Don't say Hillary Clinton. It takes a village to raise a child, right? From Africa they say that. Similarly, it takes a sampradaya to raise a sadhaka. So to deepen our understanding of Srila Prabhupada's position as our founder acharya, it's just going, now that just did it on its own. I didn't touch anything. It has to do with the streaming? No, timing. Timing of what? Oh, I don't? Oh, okay. Well, that's mercy. I can just zip right through the slide. Well, is there a setting we can increase the timing? Okay. Yeah, increase the timing. We can stay on one slide if you know how to do that. Any questions so far? Okay, it's too early. Actually, when I was doing the basic research for the seminar, I was writing letters to the late great Gopi Puranadana Prabhu, who was our premier Bengali Sanskrit scholar of the day. And he passed on in 2011, September. But I was doing research from April all the way up to my first travels. And I asked Gopi Prabhu, I said, Gopi Prabhu, who's the deliverer here? Is it the Diksha Guru? Is it the prominent Shiksha Guru? Is it the founder Acharya? I mean, Krishna says, I will deliver you from all sinful reactions, right? In the Gita? Aham tvang sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami. So who is it? So Gopi Puranadana Prabhu wrote back, well, Sureshwara, I'm on a train in China right now. I don't have all my references at my fingertips, but I'll tell you. From studying Srila Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas, which are the ultimate philosophical treatises for Gaudiya Vaishnavism, I know if I try to go into Jiva Sandarbhas and try to ask him this question, extract one person, I couldn't do it. Because I know that he would say it takes, he wouldn't say it takes a sampradaya to raise a sadhaka, but he would point out many people who are manifestations of Krishna's mercy that it takes to bring us back to Godhead, and you're going to see that. So, okay, yeah, never is always a good choice. Never say never. Duplicate. Good. We're back in action, and hopefully no more glitches. Ha ha. There's always a glitch. Sahajang karma konteya sadoshamapi natyajet. Krishna says in the Gita, every endeavor is covered by some sort of fault, no matter how many times you rehearse. Right? Jai. Okay, so let's go forward. Yep, and there we are. Bande Gurun. And yes, so to deepen our understanding of Srila Prabhupada's position as our founder Acharya, let's first look briefly at Srila Prabhupada's presentation of the Guru in CC. As one, the Guru is one, and as many. Jai, Shri Shri Kishore Kishori Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gonita Ki Jai, Shri Baladev Jagannath Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. Jai. So now, no more glitches, because their lordships are here to bless us, casting their auspicious glances over the seminar. So let's first look briefly at Prabhupada's presentation of the Guru in CC as one and as many. But first, who knows where Prabhupada is there? Famous shot. I was sitting right at his lotus feet. Have you seen this shot? New Vrindavan, Bahulaban Farm, 1972, Saturday, September 2, Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day. And all these VIP people were there. VIPs, journalists, scholars, politicians, because we had invited them all to come and meet the guru of the Hare Krishna movement. The New York Times was there, Mother Earth News, WWVA in Wheeling, West Virginia, KDKA Pittsburgh, with their cameras, you know. Prabhupada gave 10 Bhagavad Dharma discourses, and in the middle of it was Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja. So when he gave the Vyasa Puja address, Prabhupada, he aimed it at the guests. You can go to YouTube and type in 1972 New Vrindavan Vyasa Puja address and hear Prabhupada say, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Of course, those who are my students, they know what is this Vyasa Puja, but you may not understand." And Prabhupada knew they were misunderstanding. Why is that person sitting on this big throne? Who does he think he is? Here in egalitarian America, right? So Prabhupada knew their mentality. So he spent the whole address addressing who the Guru is. And he said, the Guru is like, Prabhupada said, post-peon. Translate that. The mailman, right? Great choice, because everyone loves the mailman. He's braving all the dogs and the weather. Neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor dark of night can deter this sentry from his appointed rounds, it says in the New York City post office. And then he took it down even further. Well, first of all, I'll tell you what he said about the mailman. If the mailman just delivers that letter intact and doesn't change anything, he's a bona fide mailman. Similarly, if the Guru just delivers the message of God intact, he's a bona fide Guru. And then Prabhupada took it down further. Actually, the Guru is the dog of God. God is the greatest person. Even to meet a big man of this world, it's very difficult. Prabhupada always said, Mr. Ford, Mr. Rockefeller. If you want to see Mr. Ford, he's surrounded by guards and security and assistants and PR people. You can't get near him. But Prabhupada said, if you happen to see Mr. Ford walking his dog in the park, and you give Mr. Ford's dog a 2-cent lozenge, Prabhupada said, a little candy, then Mr. Ford will think, oh, you're so nice. You must love me because you love my dog. So Prabhupada said, so I'm the dog of God. Krishna is greater than the greatest. It's very difficult to approach him, what to speak of pleasing him, but it's very difficult to please, it's very easy to please me. And right on cue, my godbrother Bahalashva said, how can we please you, Srila Prabhupada? Jam Hari Krishna. Big kirtan struck up. Prabhupada bowed down in front of Sri Sri Radha Damodar and went behind the Vyasasana, got in a little yellow Volkswagen, and drove away back to Madhaban, where he was staying, where the palace entry is now. Yeah, so that was memorable. Okay, so when you hear the word Guru in the media, what do you think? Don't think of anything spiritual. How are they using the word? Yes, very good. Read this, Prabhu. Read that. Can you read it? Yes, for example, a sports guru. People have their financial guru, their relationship guru, their life coach, what else? I was in the post office not long ago, and I had a kind of a complicated transaction. So the clerk said, just a minute, Mr. Hall, I have to call my postal guru to complete this transaction. It's passed into the language. It just means some kind of expert, right? A step above that is naturally. So, Prabhu, can you read that? Yeah. Prabhupada talks about how tolerant the tree, well, we say, Tarodapi Sahishnuna. More tolerant than a tree we have to be to chant the holy name. All the seasons, the weather is on the tree, and people are carving their initials in the tree, and, you know, so much. Dogs are relieving themselves on the tree. So we can learn a lot from nature. Even from a dog, you can learn obedience. In the 11th canto, the Avanti Brahmana is talking about how he has 24 gurus in nature. So, yeah. So Krishna's material nature is very instructive if we're a little mindful And a step up from naturally is, how about, I'm looking for, whoop, Maharaji? Yeah? Can you? Right, not heavy in kilos. I can't do that, I'm kind of skinny. Heavy with knowledge, one who drives, See, that wasn't the, that was a good guess, but I don't, oh, here we're back, so. This is a little reminder, Krishna's keeping us humble, right? Okay, now we're going to hear Prabhupada deliver the perfect definition of Guru. Here we go. Okay, now it's only coming out of my... Alright, now Subal's gonna... Whoop, we forgot that, huh? Yeah. Is it there? No, I think it's down here. Yeah. Okay, that's it. We rehearsed this. We forgot. Are you ready? Okay. We'll try the volume.
Standard.
Down.
Standard knowledge is received from the parampara system, disciplic succession. Therefore, it is said, Srotriyam. Srotriyam means who has heard from the parampara system. Srotriyam, and the result is Brahmanishtam. He is firmly fixed up in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So you see how Prabhupada gave a very relational definition. The Guru he's not isolated, he's never alone, he doesn't make anything up. But he's heard Shrotriyam, he's heard from the right person, in disciplic succession, going all the way back to Krishna, and Brahmanishtam, he walks the talk, he practices what he preaches. He's heard it and he lives it. Okay. So, Even if we know what a guru is, do we know why we need a guru? Here we go. Okay. Famous painting. To learn almost anything, we need a teacher. Even to tie our shoes. Who teaches us? Our mother, Guru Ma, teaches us how to tie our shoes. Yet when it comes to studying the highest science, what Krishna calls the spiritual science of the self, we often naively think we can be our own guru. DIY, do it yourself. This is typical American mentality. Do it yourself. So that's not the way it works. So we're having an Arjuna moment here. Did anybody ever have an Arjuna moment before they came to Krishna? Why? Please instruct me, right? I had an Arjuna moment after I dropped out of college for the first time in the 1960s. So I was so disappointed with the university, and I was in an elevator with my father, and I was all of 18 years old. And I said, Dad, I'm so disappointed. Is this it? Is this life? I'm 18 now. Am I all grown up? And is this life? It was an Arjuna moment. Please instruct me, right? So what did my father do? He looked at me kind of with an impish smile, and he said, yep, this is it. So then I said what Arjuna said. Well, I said, what do I do? So he said, what do you do? Well, you find something to do with yourself for the next 60, 70 years to keep from going crazy. He wasn't in parampara. That's the best he could do. It was an honest answer, but it didn't help me. Actually, I knew as soon as he said that there must be more. So let's hear what Prabhupada writes about how we really do need a guru. Here we go. How about Kevin? Uh-oh, we can't hear you. What can we do? Can you belt it out?
In every step there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. Bhagavad Gita 2.7 purport.
Famous, huh? You know the verse? Let's all sing it. Karpanya dosho pahatak svabhava prichchami tvang dharma sambuddha cheta. I don't hear anybody. Yatstreyaksya nischitang bruhitan me shishyaste hangshadimang tvang prapannam. I'm confused. It's no wonder, because Krishna designs this world to confuse us. It's his illusory energy. It's like it's all smoke and mirrors here, folks. And then he makes us ask the very human question: why? What's going on here? Who am I? Yeah, and only a bona fide spiritual master can answer that. You won't find it in university. Okay. So, once we understand why we need a guru, it is important we connect with a genuine guru to whom we can surrender. In one sense, of course, all genuine gurus are the same. Let's see how. There it is. There's Lord Sri Krishna. Krishna is the Adi Purusham, therefore he's the original guru. Of course, Lord Balaram is the original go-between, so he's called the original guru. But Krishna is the original everything. So, can anybody raise your hand if you can tell us how all gurus, all bona fide gurus, are the same, are one? I think we're going to let Maharaj answer this. How they're one. In what sense are they one? Yes, very good. Can you read? You're going to run the mic? There you go. Usually I do have a runner during the seminar.
The Guru is one because he comes in disciplic succession. What Vyasadeva and Krishna taught 5,000 years ago is also being taught now. There is no difference between the two instructions. Although hundreds and thousands of acharyas have come and gone, the message is one.
Yeah. So in that sense, all real gurus are one. At the same time, although one in message with Krishna, all true gurus offered also differ. Have you noticed? I mean, the people who come into ISKCON Chicago, for example, if they're certified ISKCON gurus, in one sense they're one, but boy, are they different, right? Everybody's an individual. And they're all accessing different aspects of Srila Prabhupada. Nobody has all of Prabhupada's mercy. You're going to see how all-sided Prabhupada is. But they're accessing one or more aspects of Srila Prabhupada. So let's take a look at how gurus differ. Okay. The original guru of all, Lord Krishna, enlightens our Sampradaya's primeval guru, the Adi Guru, Lord Brahma, with the sounds of his celebrated flute. So how about Preeti Mataji? You want to read this? Kevin? No, Preeti's right there.
How is the Guru different? By role. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings.
They have different dealings. So we're going to look at that now. Okay? So although initiating and instructing spiritual masters are, quote, equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, they have different dealings. For example, there's a person, you folks just sang Gaurarti, yeah? Kibajayo? Okay. So one line is Nara Hari Adikari Chamaradula. Srila Narahari Sakar, he's fanning Lord Chaitanya in this arti song by Srila Bhaktivinoda. Srila Narahari Sarkar also wrote a good book called Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita. And in text 48 of that book, it's all about guru-disciple. It's only 60, 70 texts. So in text 48, Srila Narahari Sarkar states, quote, a disciple may hear some instructions from another advanced Vaishnav, but after gaining that good instruction, he must bring it and present it to his own spiritual master. He should hear the same teachings gained from his own spiritual master with appropriate instructions. So we don't live in a vacuum. We hear so many things from so many people, sometimes they're contradictory. So it behooves us to go to our, if our primary relationship is with our Diksha Guru, and say, Maharaj, I heard this from so-and-so Maharaj, or so-and-so Prabhu, and how does that relate to my life? How can I apply that to my life? So, if he's a bona fide spiritual master, he'll be able to tell us how to apply it in a very practical way. Now, I make an observation about this point of different dealings, different roles. In ISKCON's global family, initiating gurus are like parents, and instructing gurus are like well-wishing relatives. Yet, their relative prominence in our lives depends on the relationships we develop with them. Sometimes we are closer to our parents, and sometimes we grow closer to our uncles and aunties. A good example in our Sampradaya is right on the altar is this, oh, it goes that far, look at that. Right? So there's, is that Prabhupada there? Yeah, and there's Bhaktisiddhanta. And there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was initiated by whom? Anybody know? Bipin Bihari Goswami. That's who he took Diksha from. Over time, he became closer to his prominent Shiksha Guru, who was, right, who's also on the altar there. Yeah. Oh no, actually it's not, he didn't. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Jagannath Das Babaji. Why? Because over time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur developed some differences with his Diksha Guru. I mean, respectful. He was respectful to Bipin Bihari. But Bipin Bihari Goswami, as far as I understand, who lived on the Navadvip side of the Ganges, was very convinced that the parampara was a Diksha line, a line of initiators and initiated. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was convinced of just the opposite, that it's really a line of instructors and instructed. Plus, Bipin Bihari Goswami was also convinced that Mahaprabhu appeared on the Navadvip side of the Ganges, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, over time, with his consulting ancient maps and talking to old sadhus, became convinced that Mahaprabhu actually appeared on the Mayapur side of the Ganges, and he enlisted the aid of the Sarvabhauma, the chief of the Vaishnavas of the day, Jagannath Das Babaji, who was so old, he was literally a basket case. He had to be carried around in a basket by his disciples. So when Bhaktivinoda took Jagannath Das Babaji to that site of where he thought the Yog Pit was, the place of Advent, what did Jagannath Das Babaji do? He became so ecstatic, he leapt out of the basket. It was miraculous. He just confirming what Bhaktivinoda Thakur's research had led him to believe. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a Diksha disciple of Bipin Bihari Goswami. He became more close to his uncle, you know, just in the relationship sense. So then I make another observation here. Similarly in ISKCON, okay, sometimes we become closer to our uncles and aunties. Nonetheless, if all our gurus are truly well-wishers, serving cooperatively in the mission of our founder Acharya, who is everyone's foundational guru, harmony prevails. We're going to see more about that in lesson 2. For example, I have a godbrother, Krishna Kshetra Swami. Does he ever come here? No? He's an American, but he joined in Europe in the 70s, and he preached there a long time. And he took sannyas a few years ago. So you know how he initiates people? So I'm your Diksha Guru, but I'm not going to always be here for you, right, locally. So wherever you are in the world, I want you to develop very strong Shiksha relationships with senior devotees, and they will help you. day to day. I won't be here for you day to day. And maybe I won't even be within email access, right? So do that. So that's very smart, because we really do need to develop our Shiksha culture in ISKCON, and very locally, sustainably. We're going to take a look at that in a few minutes. So that's one way gurus differ. They differ by the role they play in their lives. And here's another way they differ. Qualification. How about Naveen Prabhu? Where's the mic? Okay, here we go. Hang on. Read slowly.
By qualification, a person who is liberated.
Whoops. Please wait. Okay. Hey. All right. Maybe I was there too long again. Maya's not taking this lying down, right? She knows this is important stuff. We got to test you guys. How determined are you to get through this seminar? Right. There we go. Duplicate. Windows plus. Yeah, there we go. All right. Commitment. Qualification, that's it. That's it. Just put it on current slide, Prabhu. I don't want to figure it out, the deeper stuff out. Okay, next slide. There we go. Oh, that's it. You're right. Okay. Okay, so this is a letter, April 68, very early letter. And Prabhupada's talking about who a bona fide spiritual master is. Go ahead.
By qualification, a person who is liberated Acharya, a guru, cannot commit any mistake. But there is a person who are less qualified or not liberated, but still can act as a guru and acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession. Letter to Jayananda.
That's okay, you don't have to read the ref. So, Prabhupada's dropping a bomb there. Probably the devotees didn't understand enough. Another bomb. You might as well just sit there, Prabhu. Okay, so the bomb is, if you heard the letter, that you can be a guru, a bona fide guru, even if you're not liberated. Wow! I can be a guru if I'm not liberated? And how did Prabhupada say you can do that? By strictly following your guru. That's a bona fide spiritual master. He doesn't have to have 4 arms, or can fly, or do magic, or he just has to follow his spiritual master. That's a bona fide guru. Okay, great. So, that's big, because sometimes we think, well, gee, unless a liberated soul is my guru, how can he be a bona fide guru? And you might think, well, that's just a letter. He might have just been saying that to some guy in a letter, but it's not really completely true. I want to read it in Prabhupada's books. So here it is from Prabhupada's books. Same point. That the qualification to be a bona fide guru is that you just follow your guru. You don't have to be a liberated soul. There it is. Quote, this Krishna consciousness movement directly receives instructions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead via persons who are strictly following his instructions. Although a follower may not be a liberated person, if he follows the Supreme Liberated Personality of Godhead, his actions are naturally liberated from the contamination of the material nature. Lord Chaitanya therefore says, by my order, you may become a spiritual master. One can immediately become a spiritual master by having full faith in the transcendental words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by following his instructions. So to strictly follow means to strictly live it, not just strictly mouth it. Right? That's what it means, to actually do it, to walk the talk, to practice what you preach. And that's no small thing. But if you do that, that's a bona fide spiritual master. In his humility, our Prabhupada, he said a lot. I may not be perfect, but because I'm following the perfect, therefore I am perfect. That's all we have to do. In our case, follow Prabhupada's instructions. Live the teachings. Okay, by role, by qualification, and here's another way that gurus differ. By commitment. How about Prabhuji? Marie?
By commitment. The spiritual master who first gives information about spiritual life is called the Vartana Pradarshaka Guru. The spiritual master who initiates according to the regulations of the Shastras is called the Diksha Guru, and the spiritual master who gives instructions for elevation is called the Shiksha Guru.
Notice the progression. Introducer, that's Vartana Pradarshaka Guru. Initiator, Diksha Guru. Instructor, Shiksha Guru. Notice that. Because whatever kind of guru a guru is, an introducer, an initiator, an instructor, what is the guru doing? Even if the guru was not opening his or her mouth, what is the guru doing? Yes, teaching by his example. That's the most powerful instruction. Actions speak louder than words. Example is better than precept. Thank you. Now, there's one quote I left out here from "You may become a guru if you simply follow and repeat." Listen to this. Listen to Prabhupada, what Prabhupada wants. This is Prabhupada in a lecture in Hawaii, 1976. Quote, "Because people are in darkness, we require many millions of gurus." How many gurus are in ISKCON? I mean, you know, approved to initiate. You know? You know? Yeah, under 100. How many people are in ISKCON? Tens of thousands, right? Wow. That's not sustainable. Here's Prabhupada. Because people are in darkness, we require many millions of gurus to enlighten them. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is, he said, every one of you become guru. And then Prabhupada says, and if you think, but I have no qualification, how can I become a guru? And then Prabhupada says, there is no need of qualification. Still I can become guru? Yes. How? Whomever you meet, you simply instruct what Krishna has said. That's all. You become guru. In Prabhupada's last days, 2 Bengali gentlemen visited him, and they were speaking to Prabhupada in Bengali as Prabhupada was lying on his bed in Vrindavan, and they wanted to speak to Prabhupada alone. Thank you. And the policy was that Prabhupada was always attended by someone. He would never be left alone. And in this case, it was Bhakti Charu Swami was there, who's also Bengali by birth. So they wanted to speak to Prabhupada alone. And, but Bhakti Charu Maharaj knew the policy. So Prabhupada looked at him, at Bhakti Charu, and said, it's okay, I know them. You can leave. We'll grant them their wish. But Bhakti Charu, before he left the room, you know what he did? He pressed the record button on the tape recorder. He wanted to know what these guys were up to. Very shrewd. So basically, when he heard the tape player, you know what he heard? He heard them asking Prabhupada, after you, who? After you leave, who? And you know what Prabhupada said? Just what he said here. If you go to the Veda base, if you have access to Prabhupada's recorded Vani, the spoken and written word, you type in Yare Dako Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh. Prabhupada was recorded, just recorded, at least 200 times this. And this is Lord Chaitanya saying, Yare Dako, whoever you meet, Tarikaha, tell them, Krishna Upadesh. You tell them what Krishna says, his instructions. Amara Gyai Guru Hanya. By my order, Guru Hanya Tare Desh. Save this land according to your capacity. Save yourself, save your family, save this, save Lunt Avenue, Lunt Street, Lunt Avenue. Save Illinois. You know, gurus have different capacities. That's what Prabhupada wants. He wants everybody to grow up and become a spiritual master according to our capacity. Oh, here we go. Okay, so back to this flow. Introducer, instructor, initiator and instructor. Whatever the Guru was doing, the Guru is instructing. Once our legendary godbrother Vishnu Jan Swami was in Mayapur and he told Srila Prabhupada, I would love to go down the Ganga in one of those little boats and chant Hare Krishna with a party of devotees and enliven the villagers. But Srila Prabhupada, I don't speak their language. So Prabhupada left and he said, oh, they don't care what you say. They just want to see how you behave. Achar is more important than prachar. Example is better than precept. So, actions speak louder than words. Okay, who was Prabhupada's Vartma Pradarshaka Guru, beside his father, the pure devotee Gaur Mohan Dey? Who introduced him? Naren, his friend Naren, Narendranath Mullik. They were friends from when the time they were in baby carriages, prams. So Prabhupada told us, I didn't want to go meet Bhaktisiddhanta. I was disappointed with so many so-called sadhus, but my friend dragged me to the meeting. To the best of my knowledge, Narendranath Mullik never joined the Gaudiya mission, but he introduced Prabhupada to his spiritual master. So therefore he's a kind of guru. And then Prabhupada took initiation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Now in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's case, he was not only the Diksha Guru, but he, as you're going to see in lesson 2 and 4, he was the founder Acharya of the Gaudiya mission. Okay. And the spiritual master who gives instructions for elevation is called the Shiksha Guru. Here's another reference in the 10th canto. Lord Krishna tells Sudama, his school friend from the ashram of Sandipani Muni, quote, my dear friend, he who gives a person his physical birth is his first spiritual master. In a spiritual culture, right? Your mother and father, your first gurus. And he who initiates him as a twice-born Brahmin and engages him in religious duties is indeed more directly his spiritual master, your initiator, right? But the person who bestows transcendental knowledge upon the members of all the spiritual orders of society is one's ultimate spiritual master. Indeed, he is as good as my own self. So you're going to hear in the course of the seminar how Prabhupada, he introduced, for example, Guru Puja in 1974 in front of the deities in Juhu, Sri Sri Radha Rasa Bihari, after they greeted the deities. He introduced that. And we didn't really understand the full import of that at the time, because Prabhupada was the only guru in ISKCON at the time. He was Shiksha, Diksha, sometimes Vartma Pradarshaka, grandfather, everything all rolled into one. So when he introduced the song, we thought, cool, a new song. Sri Guru Charana Padma. But now that there are many gurus and Guru Maharajas and what do we say? Guru Maharaj, how do we call our Guru Maharaj? Guru Devs, right? My Guru Dev, Guru Maharaj. It's a multiple guru culture. Prabhu, where are you? Okay. Take the seat, please. It's a multiple guru culture in ISKCON today. So we have many gurus. But every day we worship the founder Acharya. He's as glorious it is to be a guru, he's a guru of gurus. He's a founder Acharya. He's the pivotal person around whom all those other relationships exist. Okay. So let's keep going to, having examined the oneness and difference among gurus, so the oneness is they carry the same message. The difference is they play different roles in our lives. They have different qualifications, different levels of Krishna consciousness, and they have different levels of commitment to us. Okay. So having examined the oneness and difference among gurus, we're ready to look at how all true gurus are different manifestations of Krishna's mercy. So there's Srila Narada Muni playing the part of the guru, Srila Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of God, playing the part of the disciple. And let's have Mataji in the red. You want to read? Can you read?
I first offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters.
Yeah. One initiator, just like we have one set of parents, but many uncles and aunties perhaps, or many people we look up to, mentors. Kaviraj Goswami, Srila Prabhupada quotes in this Adi 135 purport, a devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. Do we follow that in ISKCON? I'll read it again. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. Sometimes people take reinitiation in ISKCON. It happened a lot in the 1980s as there was a lot of trauma and drama and betrayal and fall down, and we had to go through some hell and back because there was so much imitation of Prabhupada's position. There had to be consequences for that. So sometimes people were so traumatized by what happened between them and their spiritual master that they begged another initiator to please let me take shelter of you. And it actually still happens to this day sometimes. So, but if the spiritual master is aware of what Prabhupada says here, he knows that it's really technically not allowed. Just like, say your parents go bad, right? Say they have to go to prison, or they get hooked on drugs, or they just go crazy. But you know what? They're still your parents. And you pray for them, and you just thank them for whatever they gave you while they were okay. And you might have to take your distance from them, right? But they're still your parents. So you don't really need to get another set of parents because there's so many other people. By that time, hopefully, you will have gotten close to uncles and aunties and mentors that you can take shelter of. So it's technically not necessary, but sometimes when spiritual masters were approached in that day, then the spiritual master might have said, you know, you're already initiated. You're already connected to Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara. But I can see that you've been so traumatized by what happened that if it'll help you carry on in Krishna consciousness, I'll do this for you. I'll do it. But just know it's not technically necessary. Okay. So we don't follow that, or we haven't. And we don't need to necessarily go through that trauma because we're coming to the right point now in ISKCON after so many traumas and dramas, etc. We're stopping the pendulum squarely at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. Not as everybody's Diksha Guru, but as the founder Acharya. Why in the world would we want Prabhupada as our initiating spiritual master if we already have him as our founder Acharya? Why? Because we don't really deeply understand his position and how we're connected to him as his Shiksha followers. We take questions at the end unless it's really... Okay, why in the world would we want to take Prabhupada as our Diksha Guru, which is not Parampara, it's not legal? Why would we want to declare Prabhupada as everybody's Diksha Guru when we already have him as our founder Acharya? Why? Because until very recently we haven't deeply understood how Prabhupada is already foundationally connected to us as the foundational Shiksha Guru of all devotees and zones and God families and generations for all time. We're trying to deeply understand this point. Okay, observation. Okay, I didn't read the last sentence yet. The last sentence in that purport, Prabhupada writes, Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. Is that the way we've done it in ISKCON? Generally, someone who instructs, how does it go? Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. Have we followed that in ISKCON over the years? Most of the time, people fly in, they're taking shiksha, right, from the local senior devotees, and then somebody flies in, initiates you, and flies away. We don't, that's not what Prabhupada wants. Here. In the last sentence, hold your fire to the end. In this last sentence, Srila Prabhupada indicates the natural, normative guru-disciple relationship sustainable over time. Traditionally, in Vedic India, what happened? The village sadhu, he would instruct people, and then they would get shraddha from the sadhu, right? And then they want to go to the next step. They want to be initiated. And naturally, he's already got the relationship with him. They have faith in him. So they take initiations. That's what Prabhupada means here. Generally, historically, the natural, normative guru-disciple relationship, sustainable over time, is very local. That's why Prabhupada said in that quote, we need to train and empower millions of gurus worldwide to act as local spiritual masters. I'm sure there are many people who could take you to the next step if they were recognized and authorized to do that. Yeah, and that's what we need more and more in ISKCON, to make the whole thing more local, sustainable over time. We need local gurus. Hold your fire. Okay, well, we'll give you, but I want to do it at the end when we balance things. All right? Is that all right? Yeah. Yeah, let's do that, because I got to get through the slides here. Okay. Still, one may wonder, is the categorical status of a Shiksha Guru really equal to that of a Diksha Guru? Because, you know, when Prabhupada left, we really put the whole spotlight on the initiator. And that's why it got crazy. Because people were equated and conflated with the founder Acharya. It was wrong. In the 1980s, there were as many Hare Krishna movements as there were Diksha Gurus. They were competing. It was fragmenting the unity. It was jeopardizing the integrity of the movement. It was wrong and had to go. We're still recovering from that. Okay. Still, we may wonder, is the categorical status of a Shiksha Guru really equal to that of a Diksha Guru? Okay, so, okay, read, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Maharaj, you want to read that?
This is from Adi Leela 147. There is no difference between the shelter-giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual master. Read again. There is no difference between the shelter-giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual master. If one foolishly discriminates between them, commits an offense in the discharge of devotional service.
Not only is it true that Shiksha and Diksha Gurus are equal and identical manifestations of the Lord, but it's actually offensive to think they're not. And of course, that doesn't mean everybody's on the same level. Remember, we saw by qualification, role, commitment. But they're bona fide spiritual masters.
It also says they're as good as the shelter-giving Supreme Lord. It also says that there is no difference between them and the shelter-giving Supreme Lord.
You bet, and we sing that every morning. Sakshat haritve nasamasta shastre ruktastataba yateva sadhi. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord. Why? Because of his being the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and is followed by all authorities, and therefore We bow down to such a spiritual master. Sakshad Hari. He's directly Krishna. As much as we're being transparent to the Lord, people are getting a direct experience of Krishna. Just like if those windows are clean, I don't want to put anybody on the spot here. They look pretty clean. We're getting a direct experience of the building next door. Similarly, as much as I'm transparent to Krishna in my words and my thoughts and my deeds, that's how much I'm a bona fide spiritual master. Either Varna Pradarshaka, Shiksha, or Diksha. Okay, yeah, good. Thanks for deepening that. That's a good point. Now, as the next two slides remind us, the essence of initiation and instruction is the transference of Krishna consciousness. So there, famous painting, Jadharani Devi, my dear god sister, she painted Krishna appearing in this world, and of course Kamsa was afraid that Krishna would appear and kill him. So, and where did Krishna, he appeared in a prison. This is a big hint from Krishna. Right from the beginning of his pastimes, he was giving us a hint of what this material world is all about. He appeared at midnight, dark time, in a prison, dark place, during a storm. This is not a fun place. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. So I think it's 10:2:18. This is, prayers by Krishna for the demigods in the womb. We have this. So let's have a lady read this. What lady would like to read? Oh, Mataji, thank you.
Thereafter, accompanied by plenary expansions, the fully opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all auspicious for the entire universe, was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki.
Okay, and there's more. Now this is the verse. This is not a purport. This is a very poetic and powerful description of the Hare Krishna Immaculate Conception. You know how the Christians have this virgin birth of Jesus doctrine? So this is how Krishna appeared, not by the ordinary way of seminal injection, but by transference of Krishna consciousness from Vasudeva to Devaki. So here's the next part of the verse. Mataji, want to read that?
Devaki, having thus been initiated by Vasudeva, became beautiful by carrying Lord Krishna, the original consciousness for everyone, the cause of all causes, within the core of her heart, just as the east becomes beautiful by carrying the rising moon.
Isn't that beautiful? Woo! The sun sets, transfers its rays to the rising moon. So Vasudeva, he became very potent with Krishna consciousness, and he transferred that meditation on Krishna to a very fertile receiver, Devaki, and she became pregnant with Krishna consciousness, and that's why, you know, there was this suspect that Krishna was in her womb, because she was glowing like that. So Krishna appeared like that through the meditation. Now listen to this purport excerpt from Srila Prabhupada. Quote, "We should note carefully that the Lord was transferred to Devaki not by the ordinary way for a human being, but by Diksha." Jai Shri Shri Kishore Kishori Ki Jai. Devaki, having thus been initiated by, this is the essence of initiation, it's the transference of Krishna consciousness. Thus, the importance of initiation is mentioned here. Unless one is initiated by the right person who always carries within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot acquire the power to carry the Supreme Godhead within the core of one's own heart. It's like when Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj. You know, he bowed down, and as he was getting up, Prabhupada said, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, "So you are educated young men. Why don't you preach Lord Chaitanya's message in the Western countries in English?" So Prabhupada felt obliged to challenge the sadhu because he was suspicious of sadhus from his bad experience. So what did Prabhupada say? As you know, he said, well, who will hear our message, Chaitanya's message? We are a captive country. First we have to become free of the boot of the British Raj. Right? And so for the first time, Abhay Charan De heard an answer to that. Oh no, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, Krishna consciousness is the urgent need of every living being. It can't wait for a change in politics. So as soon as Abhay Babu heard that, his allegiance that he had for Gandhi, Prabhupada told us, I was Gandhi's devotee. His allegiance flew right from Gandhi to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in a blink. He was so fertile, he was so ready to hear that. And so Prabhupada told us. So I accepted him immediately in my heart. I accepted in my heart immediately. Not officially, that took 11 years. It wasn't until 1933 in Allahabad, 11 years later, that he took Diksha. But that change of heart had already happened. That was the initiation. That was the real initiation. And him, especially because he said, why don't you preach all over the world? That was the essence of the initiation. It just took time to manifest. So, you know, if we take initiation and that change of heart hasn't really happened, then the whole thing is kind of a show. Before the deities, the sacred fire, the guru, the Vaishnavas, we take these vows. But if the change of heart hasn't happened by that connection with the bona fide spiritual master, who himself is connected to the parampara, it's not the real thing. Yeah. So we'll see later more about initiation. If gurus are one and different, how much more so is the guru and God? With empowered genius, Srila Prabhupada was able to introduce this spiritual truth even to raw recruits. So right at 26 Second Avenue, Prabhupada conveyed the oneness and difference between Guru and God. No small thing in the land of Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, when everybody is reading, you know, impersonalists and voidists. So here is Srila Prabhupada, famous shot taken by a person who became a famous photographer, Fred McDarrah. In the 1960s, he became famous, Fred did, for photographing all kinds of counterculture personalities. So in June '66, Prabhupada was still in the Bowery, still in the pits of New York City, and living even in a dangerous place with a guy who eventually went crazy on him with LSD, and he had to flee for his life. So Prabhupada was being interviewed by Howard Smith and photographed by Fred McDarrah, and they really were impressed by Swamiji, and they were saying in the Village Voice, here is a person who is about to start a major spiritual movement, revolution even, because Prabhupada told them what he was up to, what he was about. So that was in June. In July 1st, there was a big caravan. Prabhupada's serious listeners transported all his worldly possessions on their heads, and they went from 94 Bowery to 26 Second Avenue, and that's when the mission really started. So from July, August, September, the first ISKCON Janmashtami. Prabhupada's saying, tomorrow we're going to have initiation. They didn't know what Prabhupada, Swamiji was talking about. Initiation means, I'll just read from the Lamrita version by someone who was there, Satsarup Maharaj, Steve Guarino. On Janmashtami Day, 1966, Srila Prabhupada announced on the eve of the first initiation, quote, initiation means that the spiritual master accepts the student and agrees to take charge, and the student accepts the spiritual master and agrees to worship him as God. He paused. No one spoke, because all summer Swamiji was telling these people, anybody who says they're God is a dog. But now he's saying the disciple accepts the spiritual master as God. No one spoke. Any questions? Prabhupada did this on purpose. they were just dumbfounded. They were too dumbstruck to ask anything. Prabhupada got off that dais, that raised seat, walked to his right, out the door at 26 2nd Avenue, walked right again through the courtyard, up to his apartment, 2C, and left them to figure out what was going on. Hey man, did you hear that? My mind's been blown, man. I don't know if I can do this. So, long story short, Wally asked Howard, Howard, would you please go upstairs and ask Swamiji what he meant? This is what Swamiji was waiting for. Because in the purport to 434, the famous Tadvidhi verse, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, Prabhupada writes in that purport, blind faith and absurd inquiries are condemned. Prabhupada doesn't want blind followers. He's testing them. He's been telling them all summer, if you think you're God, you're a dog. And now he's kind of said something that appears to be equivocal to them. They can't figure out. So, the students were stunned. Later, one asked Srila Prabhupada for clarification. This is Howard, who became Hayagriva, who was a very large-bodied person, spoke in these very large tones, wasn't afraid to ask Swamiji the question, right? Does what you told us this morning, Howard asked, mean we are supposed to accept the spiritual master to be God? And then Swamiji replies, that means he is due the same respect as God, being God's representative. Prabhupada replied calmly, then he is not God? No, Prabhupada said. And then we have to have Prabhu read.
How did Srila Prabhupada introduce the oneness and difference of Guru and God?
Okay, so here's what Prabhupada replied. He said, no, he's not God, and then...
God is God. The spiritual master is his representative. Therefore, he is as good as God because he can deliver God to the sincere disciple. Is that clear?
And it was clear, and they went ahead and they did the first initiation. You can bet, we're not betting people, but you can bet that if they didn't ask that question, that Swamiji wouldn't have gone ahead and done those initiations. He doesn't want blind, sentimental followers. Religion without philosophy is sentiment, and then it degrades further into fanaticism. Okay, that's the last slide. So here's the lesson outcomes. Now in the first lesson, what I do is I sort of plant a lot of seeds of themes that we are going to revisit the whole series. So try to focus your questions on these, what I call learning outcomes. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to identify different usages of the word guru, from popular to perfect. Right? There was, what was the first one? Popularly, naturally, literally, and factually what a guru is. We should be able to explain why we need a guru. Right? We need, even our mother has to teach us how to tie our shoes, what to speak of the absolute truth. Explain how all genuine gurus are one, and also how they're different. We should be able to explain how the essence of initiation and instruction is the transference of Krishna consciousness. And finally, we should be able to recount how Srila Prabhupada introduced the oneness and difference of Guru and God. And before I sit down, I'm just going to give you a little preview of tomorrow morning's lesson 11. Lesson 2, the Founder Acharya Principle. Transition. All Vaishnava Guru-disciple relationships thrive under the shelter of the Founder Acharya, the foundational spiritual master of a disciplic branch. In the next lesson, we'll examine the origin and development of the Founder Acharya Principle, with a focus on our Gaudiya Vaishnav line. It's a history lesson, basically, from Mahaprabhu's time until our time. Okay, I'm going to be quiet. So, yeah, the tendency is to is to want to talk about everything under the sun, because everything we think and feel and do in the Hare Krishna movement is connected to Prabhupada. But try to focus on those learning outcomes. Try to focus on the lesson. Prabhuji, your name, please.
My name is Nityananda Prandas.
Nityananda. Oh, so you're the first man, right?
Something like that. The first servant.
Okay, we met in Gainesville.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming back to Chicago. It's nice to see you. On the topic of Siksha Gurus locally, I think in our movement, at least for me, the definition of a Siksha Guru is very nebulous. Because the definition of a Diksha Guru, there is some title, there is some recognition, there is some empowerment in a particular way. But Siksha Guru seems to be like a garden variety. So I'd request you to throw some light, because anybody can be Siksha Guru, not necessarily, etc., etc. So if you could throw some light.
The concept really is not nebulous, but the way we do it in ISKCON is nebulous. Yeah. So that's why, for example, when Krishna Kshetra Swami encourages his new disciples, his new Diksha disciples, to take Shiksha Gurus, he's telling them to do it seriously. It's not like, okay, you know, shopping for a doctor's opinion. If you don't like the opinion, you go to another doctor, right? So it's based on hearing. We're going to revisit this in lesson 7 and lesson 9. It's a good example. Your question is a good example of me planting a seed of an issue and then really developing it more later. But Shiksha Guru is Guru. So if you're really accepting someone as your Guru, even if he didn't initiate you, he's an equal and identical manifestation of Krishna. But how that comes to pass is to be seen over time. For example, in lesson 7, we talk about Prabhupada saying how to really accept someone as your Guru, and for the Guru to accept you as a disciple, that takes time. That's a mutual examination process that is very often not followed. It's not done, but it's very important. Just because, for example, and Prabhupada gives his example, say you have a nice boy and a nice girl, and they're getting to know each other. And maybe they're even considering marriage. But that's a big commitment, right? So just because the girl's nice and the boy's nice doesn't mean they can work together as husband and wife. So just because you have someone who's an authentic spiritual master, either Shiksha or Diksha, it doesn't mean that they're going to work well as Guru and disciple. It requires a kind of, I call it spiritual chemistry. And here's an experienced person to speak on this.
No, this is more of a question.
Okay, well, have we? So actually, to accept someone as Guru, even though there isn't a ceremony, you know, defining it like you say in front of the deity in the fire, it's got to be a serious relationship, commitment. That it's not casual. You know, that person really has to see that you're a serious and sincere aspirant or follower. And you have to see that that person's actually, well, in terms of this seminar, is enriching, enhancing, and deepening my relationship with my Guru and Srila Prabhupada.
You're talking about
Shiksha, right? Shiksha, because his question was about Shiksha.
See, in your statement when you said that the Siksha Guru is deepening my relationship with my Guru and Prabhupada or Krishna.
Yeah.
The my Guru part usually comes a lot later. The my Guru part comes much later, especially when someone's new to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, okay.
And
so in that case, yeah.
So that's one. The second, I still feel, and I'll wait till lesson 7 and 9. I don't mean to jump the gun. In the case of a Diksha Guru, there is a movement, there is a body that says His Holiness Chandramauli Swami is an initiating Guru.
Right.
But there is no process that says such and such
Right.
is a Shiksha Guru. So anybody can take anybody as Shiksha. And is that okay? There are flaws, etc.
Yeah, especially given the fact that Kaviraj Goswami says they're equal and identical manifestations, right? Or Prabhupada says that. Yeah, but even Prabhu, even the process for becoming approved to initiate an ISKCON, it's fraught. It's not foolproof. So, but we'll get there.
Sure.
Let's just put that on hold for a time. Although at least it's a little more defined, procedurally, but it's still fraught with problems. Okay, I'm going to have to go to Maharaj because he's before you.
There was an introduction to have Shiksha formalized in ISKCON. It got to the discussion period but never actualized. That would have been a step forward.
You're saying there was a discussion about this?
Yeah, to actually bring Shiksha in a formalization as we do with Diksha.
You mean at the GBC level?
It became a discussion, but it never manifests. In other words, if you're going to actually seriously accept someone as your Shiksha Guru, that commitment needs to be formalized. And in order to, as same way we formalize the Diksha Guru.
All right.
Because
it is a rite of passage, right? Just like again with the deity and the fire and the Vaishnavas, you make vows, you get a new name. So why is that? Because it's a samskar. Krishna wants you to have that impression, that sacred impression in your heart. So beyond that, I haven't gone further than that. That's good to hear. There's a discussion because people like Shivaram Swami, for example, who wrote a book in 1999 called The Shiksha Guru. He was trying to help ISKCON develop its Shiksha culture. So let's revisit that in lessons 7 and 9. But that's good. I'm glad to hear that discussion was going on. Okay, we're going to have Sarvopama Prabhu.
So I'm just trying to understand and voice another way to think about this.
About what?
What Maharaj
Shiksha Guru?
used. Yeah, the Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru dynamic.
Right.
So I'm thinking that to the degree a Diksha Guru can empower so many Shiksha Gurus, to that same degree we can have full faith and confidence in both of those kinds of Gurus.
Okay, as long as they're all representing Krishna. As long as they're all connected, and especially you're going to see more and more this, as long as they're all enriching our relationship with Srila Prabhupada, connecting us to Srila Prabhupada, and to each other. Because this movement has so much diversity, we need more unity in the diversity. When something is always just the same, what do we always say? Oh, it's so boring, right? And if something is too diverse, what do we say? Oh, it's too chaotic. When something's real, there's a nice blend of sameness and difference. The pivotal person in ISKCON to discover that balance is the founder Acharya. He provides the unity amidst all the diversity. So we don't know that unless we're really connected with his everlasting Vani. So we all have to become real deep students of his spoken and written word. That's a big takeaway, that's a big message from this seminar. If I'm just saying Prabhupada, 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 but I'm not hearing what he says, then it's sentimental. Right? Okay.
I have another question. You want to take someone else's?
Thank you for that. Let's give Mataji a chance. And don't worry, I'll tell you what. In this course of this seminar series, we revisit a few basic points from different angles. That's all we do, just to get it. We need to get it seen from different angles. So don't worry, the issues will come up again and again. Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. You said, why would we accept Srila Prabhupada as our Diksha Guru?
Why would we want him as our Diksha Guru when we already have him as our founder Acharya?
So, I mean, still it didn't, there is a sequence that you mentioned as
kind of logic which I still don't understand.
You mean the introducer, initiator, and instructor? That one? That sequence?
No, just this point that you were mentioning. Why would we accept Srila Prabhupada as our Diksha Guru?
Okay, why would we want to?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, because he's the Krishna's law of disciplic succession, as Prabhupada puts it, is that when the Guru disappears, then the people who are qualified disciples of his, then they become the Gurus. So, well, in terms of ISKCON, if I understand your question right, how do we know who a bona fide spiritual master is, Diksha or Shiksha, when they're, and here's my mantra, enriching, enhancing, and deepening our relationship with Srila Prabhupada. He's our foundational Guru. You're going to hear this very powerfully, conceptually, from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the next lesson about the position of the founder Acharya. Yeah, it's really powerful. And also you're going to hear from other sampradayas, the position of, say, Ramanuja or Madhva. Why, to this day, if you go to Udupi, which is the home of the Madhvites, or you go to Sri Rangam, the home of the Ramanujis, what the followers of those founder acharyas, how they identify themselves. And they have their beloved Diksha Gurus, and they have their beloved Shiksha Gurus. But how do they identify themselves? Well, let's take the Ramanuji. If you have a sincere and serious Ramanuji, you know, with a big tilak and preaching Vishishta Dvaita, Dharma, you know, Tattva, if I ask him who he is, are there any Tamil-speaking people in the house? Okay. Prabhu, who are you? Adiyan, Ramanuja, Dasan. I am your servant, the servant of Ramanuja. When did Ramanuja live? 1017 to 1137, 120 years. He lived 1,000 years ago. But how have they kept that alive, that core identity with their founder Acharya over the years? Well, I'll tell you next lesson. Did I butcher the Tamil? Did I say it okay? Adiyan, Ramanuja, Dasan. So in ISKCON, we can know, I'm going to tell you a story. Oh, it's 8:24. Okay. I think this is a good time. I'd like to tell this story in the course of the seminar series. I'm going to tell it in this first lesson. The lady who told me this story wants to remain anonymous. So I'm honoring her wish to remain anonymous because she does not want to be the poster child of how to take initiation in ISKCON. She doesn't want people to come up to her and say, oh, you were the person in the story. So I'm honoring her wish. Here's what happened. When I started researching the seminar series in 2011 in Hawaii, I knew this lady. I knew her story of how she took initiation, and I knew it would be valuable to share this story in this seminar series. So I said, Mataji, can I share this? She said, yeah, just keep it, anonymous. I said, okay. So I said, would you write down your story to make sure I get it right? So she did. So she sent me the story of how she took initiation. And here's how the story goes. I'm just going to give you the Cliff Notes version, the short version. Okay, so she read Prabhupada's Gita in 1987, right? And in India. She's from India. And she was a teacher. She was already a teacher in India. And so she was thrilled by Prabhupada's Gita. And she wanted to meet, the person, she wanted to meet Prabhupada. And then she went to a temple, and she was mortified to find out that the translator, the author, the guru, had left this world 10 years earlier in 1977. But she was so inspired, she decided, I'm going to commit to this master's mission. This is a bona fide spiritual master if I ever heard one. So she did. 4 years later, she ends up marrying a Prabhupada initiate, a godbrother of mine. And she moves to America, where he lives. Okay, and then she's reading Prabhupada's books. She's bright, she's a teacher herself. And she's reading in Prabhupada's books that you have to take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. Of course, she's already connected to Srila Prabhupada through Prabhupada's books. But she's reading in Prabhupada's books, okay, you have to take initiation. So she starts corresponding with a certain Maharaj who writes her back and says, you know, I'm not so much initiating anymore, and you know, you're already married to a Prabhupada initiate. Why don't you just take shelter of your husband? And she's really disappointed because she likes this person. She really feels enriched by this person. But she says, well, okay, I guess I'll do that. So it's 1987, it's 4 years later. Okay, she's been in the movement 4 years. She keeps reading Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada keeps telling her, you got to take initiation. It keeps coming up again and again, and in the spoken word, the written word. But ISKCON's still going through its stuff. It wasn't over with the 80s, you know, the betrayals and the fall downs and the traumas and the dramas. And she starts to think, I don't know if I want to take initiation. Maybe I'll be let down, you know. But Prabhupada's telling her, you got to take initiation. So it's becoming a conflict. And then the 90s go on, you know, and then there's still a lot of traumas and the dramas, and I mean, they're getting less, but it's still happening. And then Y2K is approaching. Remember Y2K? When the whole world's going to go up in a puff of cyber smoke, you know, because of some cyber glitch, you know, 1999, you know. Anyway, Y2K passed, the world didn't end, and then she starts thinking again, wow, it's been 13, 14 years since I read Prabhupada's Gita, and I'm still not initiated. But, you know, I know Prabhupada's my spiritual master, and I'll be darned if I'm going to offer incense and food to anybody else and somebody's picture. But Prabhupada's telling me I got to take initiation. It's becoming a real dilemma, an existential dilemma, right? She's going crazy. 2003, she goes to a festival. She's really inspired by the person speaking, a certain Maharaj. And so she says to her husband, Prabhuji, I got to talk to Maharaj, and I got to tell him my dilemma. I need help. Can you approach the organizer of the festival to arrange a darshan? So her husband does, and the organizer says to him, well, you know, Maharaj has been traveling all over the world, and he's dead tired, and he's not feeling well, and I'll tell you what, I'll give you 20 minutes. No, 10 minutes. I'll give you 10 minutes. Right? 10 minutes to solve her whole life's problem. Okay, by Krishna's grace, 10 minutes turned into 20 minutes. 20 minutes turned into 30 minutes. 30 minutes turned into 40 minutes. In the course of 40 minutes, she just laid out her heart to this Maharaj. And just, you know, how she knew Prabhupada insisted in Rupa Goswami in Nectar Devotion that you've got to take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. But she knows Prabhupada's her spiritual master, so what to do? And then, very wisely, the Maharaj said to her, well, the Maharaj told her his story and how long it took him to even accept Prabhupada as his spiritual master. And then he said the magic words. Now, Mataji, wouldn't block it, but who would enhance, enrich, and deepen it? What about that? And you know what she said? Ah, I never heard that before. No wonder she's having a dilemma. It wasn't even articulated. She never heard it. That the job, the role of Diksha and Shiksha gurus in ISKCON are to bring you closer to Srila Prabhupada. Those are the most important people in your life who can deepen that identity as a Prabhupada Anuga. She already had that identity. She knew it just by being in touch with Prabhupada, but somehow ISKCON hadn't gotten it yet. You know, that's the job of the Shiksha and Diksha gurus. And it's so important. So I never heard that before. No wonder she's going mad, right? So over the course of the next year, she was in touch with this Maharaj. And after a year, mutual examination, she took initiation in 2004. And then in 2011, when I solicited a story from her in writing, and then she included a little prologue, or epilogue, and afterward, she said, and Sureshwar Prabhu, I'm happy to say that not only has Maharaj kept his promise to me to bring me closer to Prabhupada, but now because he is who he is, he's taken his place at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada in my heart. And I said, yes, that's parampara. That's parampara. So you're going to hear that in different ways, from different angles of vision. Is that okay? Good. That story works every time, because it's a true story, and it's real. And what the Maharaj did was real, and what she did. Now, her relationship with her Guru Maharaj is very different than other people who have taken initiation from him, who maybe never heard of Prabhupada, who maybe the Maharaj, maybe he was their Varna Pradarshika Guru. Very different relationship, but same job, same role, same duty to bring his disciples from different. See, the way Krishna brings us to him is different. So many. What did Radhanath Swami say when he was still monk and he was under the Ganga? He heard the Maha Mantra, right, from Ganga Devi, and that was kind of a Harinam initiation. And then he came out, and then he went to Vrindavan and he found Prabhupada, and Prabhupada called him up, right? Prabhupada spotted him. Somehow Prabhupada knew. Here's a great soul. So how Krishna brings us to him is really, really unique, individual, different. It's all bona fide spiritual masters are genuine manifestations of Krishna's mercy. That's what it said in the slide. It's Krishna in different forms. That's all. Okay, we're going to end there because I'm going to run over. But please come tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and we're going to take a look. Okay, we're going to hear the last word from Maharaj, and then I'll let you go to take rest.
I just missed one little word, which was a key word you said. Her realization was that in her heart she was feeling or experiencing what?
He's taken place in her heart at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
Yes. Because he's so much transparent to Prabhupada, her Diksha Guru. Because they checked each other out, they saw they were compatible, and she's hearing Prabhupada still foundationally, and he's just confirming and deepening what she's hearing from Prabhupada. That's parampara. It's beautiful. It's real. Yeah.
2 for the price of 1.
Well, in Prabhupada's case, he's given us a whole society of mentors. Potential mentors who can bring us closer to. We do that in the seminar series too. That's the brilliance of Prabhupada. And just like Sarvabhauma said, you can know how great a Vaishnava is by how many others he turns to. He's able to turn to Krishna. And look at Prabhupada. Okay, we better end.
I just want to recap, just for the audience, what he's saying is so fundamental to our spiritual development. And if we just focus only on our spiritual master, and then we are really missing a lot. There's so many opportunities to get what our spiritual master is giving us from the society of devotees. So to take that point that he's making as the principle for your spiritual advancement and for the enrichment of your happiness in Krishna consciousness, it's right here. It's right here. You just have to find it. It's not hard to find, but it's right here. It's a nice point. Really nice point.
Sometimes it's so close we can't see it, right? Like our eyelid. Okay, please come at 11. Please be on time, because it's nice when we can do everything timely. Then we'll have it's 11 to 12:30, and then we'll break for 2 hours, and then 2:30 to 4. And you can even take a little nap after lunch, so you don't fall asleep during the afternoon session. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.